America's turning 250, and it's time to rock out with our forefathers. American-made, battle-ready style for true patriots. Whether you're marching in the parade, grilling in the backyard, or raising a toast to liberty, do it in the gear that screams freedom. Celebrate 250 years of USA in style. Wear your American pride loud. Trendjackers.etsy.com. Grab yours before the fireworks.
From Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, this is Sportsbash, presented by TicketBash.com. TicketBash.com, where memories are made affordable and where you'll never pay a service fee. Sportsbash is also presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookwhomadeit.org. Hi again, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm Peter Schwartz. Welcome to a special Friday edition of Sports Bash. Phone number to call is 516-465-3990. And if you're sitting there at home or in your office and you got the alert that Sports Bash was coming on live on Governor's Comedy Club podcast, YouTube, and Facebook, and you say, wait a second, it's Friday. Peter's usually on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Well, of course, the magnificent snowstorm we had last weekend knocked our studio out of commission. Not the studio, but the parking lot out of commission Monday and Tuesday. So the studio was closed, so we made up Tuesday's show with today, and we've got a doozy of a program for you today. Thankfully, the schedule all worked out, and we got a great special Friday show coming up. And we talked a lot about the Olympics yesterday on the show, about the USA winning the gold medal, both men and women, and the guy who called all of that action on NBC is Kenny Albert. And Kenny Albert is going to join us here on the show at around 1:20. Terrific broadcaster, longtime friend of mine. He's been on the show before. If you remember, the last time he was on was when we surprised him with his election to the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. So we surprised him with that, and then I gave him a couple of days. I think I reached out to him Wednesday because he came home from Milan. I think he went right to L.A., or maybe he went right from Milan to L.A., and he did the L.A. Kings Vegas Golden Knights game with Eddie Olczyk on Wednesday in L.A. So I'm like, Wednesday afternoon, let me text him. And I texted him, wrote me right back, absolutely. He's got a couple of Ranger games off because the Rangers are on network television for a couple of games. So Kenny Albert is going to join us around 1:20. We'll talk about being the voice of USA Gold this year for men's and women's hockey, and what wonderful comments he's been getting and accolades about his performance. And you didn't need to see his performance in Milan to know how great of a broadcaster he is. He does every sport. I mean, again, I'm not comparing myself to Kenny Albert, and I've called all 4 sports at different levels, and I could safely say for myself, the only one I think I'm really any good at is football. Because I've done basketball, I've done hockey, I've done a couple of baseball games, but I like myself, and I'm just being honest with myself, the only one I think I'm ever any good at, and I've been good at, it's the most that I've done, is football. So, but Kenny Albert does every sport flawlessly, especially hockey. Longtime voice of the Rangers, first on radio, now on TV. But he was awesome at the Olympics, and we'll talk to Kenny Albert on the show. Also, I feel like it's a friend of Peter Day, but it's not really a friend of Peter because Kenny is a friend. But also Dave Shepard from SiriusXM NBA Radio is a dear friend of mine. We worked together at CBS Sports Radio, which became Infinity Sports Network before it converted to Westwood One, and then we were all out of there. So, but Shep is hosting shows at SiriusXM NBA Radio. So happy for him. We're going to talk a little hoops with him. We'll get into the Knicks and the NBA and everything else going on in the world of basketball. We'll talk to Shep about that. We'll also have What's Hot at TicketBash.com. We'll have the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day, and we'll check out the Coach's Collectibles item of the week. Right now, it is time for the Sports Bash Flash. It is presented by the Marty Lyons Foundation. The 6th annual Marty Lyons Foundation NFL Draft Party will be Thursday, April 23rd at Great South Bay Brewery in Bayshore. For more information, visit martylyonsfoundation.org. And as I told you yesterday here on the show, I am so excited to be back for my 6th straight year hosting the Marty Lyons NFL Draft Party. And if I know I'm repeating myself, and if you've heard the story before, I apologize. I always feel I have to share it. But 6 years ago, I get a phone call from Kenny Zor, who works with the Marty Lyons Foundation, my dear friend who used to work for the Jets and the Islanders, and that does a great job with the whole crew there at the foundation. And I get a call from him one day, and I'm like, he's like, would you like to host the Marty Lyons Foundation Draft Party? We're starting that this year. And that was right in the middle of COVID. They started that. And I'm like, yeah. So it's like, and I joke every year when Kenny introduces me at the foundation draft party, and I take the mic, and I know I bore of the crowd. It's over 200 people now that go to it, and I probably bore some of them with the same story, but I feel obligated to say it. Is that if you told 14-year-old Peter sitting in the upper deck of Shea Stadium with his uncle, watching the Jets beat the Packers in '81 to make the playoffs in the last game of the season, then I would be asked by the legendary Jets player Marty Lyons to host his draft party, I'd say you're crazy. And it's one of my favorite days of the year. It really is. And I bring it up and I expound upon it because it is such a great event. My family and I are so honored and privileged to be volunteers with the Marty Lyons Foundation. It's one of the great events that they do all year. It's really blossomed into this wonderful, festive convention for football fans and people who just want to help a great cause. And the Marty Lyons Foundation does amazing work granting wishes to kids and families who are going through a hard time. And we have a blast at this party. Obviously, the Jets are going to have the 2nd pick and the 16th pick in the draft. The Giants are picking 5th. And it's a great night. Marty is there, obviously. Kenny Schroy, another former Jet. Greg Buttle. Bobby Jackson's always there. Some other former NFL players. And great raffle prizes, great food and drinks. So if you can, and you're available, and you'd like to have a really fun evening of football and watching the Jets and Giants make their picks, and you really want to help out a great cause that really means a lot to my family and I, to everybody who works with the foundation, go to martylyonsfoundation.org and get your ticket information for the 6th annual Marty Lyons Foundation NFL Draft Party on Thursday, April 23rd. Great South Bay Brewery in Bayshore. By the way, it's a great place. It really is a phenomenal place. That party started out with a little room in the back, and now we take over the whole place. And it's wonderful. So I can't wait for April 23rd. Now to the Flash, after I went on my little soliloquy there for a second. Had a big win for the Islanders last night, 4-3 in overtime in Montreal over the Canadiens. The Rangers lost to the Flyers 3-2 in overtime. Exhibition baseball yesterday, good day for the locals. Yankees beat the Braves 7-3. The Mets beat the Astros 5-0. NBA, the Nets lost to the Spurs 126-110. Today, the Yankees visit the Twins, and the Mets visit the Cardinals. Tonight, the Knicks are in Milwaukee, the Nets are in Boston, and that's what's happening. The Sports Bash Flash is presented by the Marty Lyons Foundation. I just briefly mentioned the Islanders win last night over the Canadiens, and obviously, you know, for the Islanders to open up the post-Olympic part of their schedule with a win, especially in the fashion they did it last night. They fall behind 2-0. And they come back, and J.G. Pajot scores the winning goal in overtime. But this game has some meaning for a couple of reasons. First of all, Matthew Schaefer. I mean, this kid is unbelievable. And I every time we talk about Matthew Schaefer here on the show, I smile because, like, this kind of stuff hasn't really happened to the Islanders in a long time. To have a 3.5% chance of winning the first pick in the draft and getting him, and he makes the team. He's 18 years old and he's doing what he's doing. And here's what he did last night. He scores 2 more goals, number 17 and 18 on the season. And he makes a little more history last night. With the 18 goals, he has now scored the most goals by an 18-year-old defenseman in NHL history. Think about that. In the history of the NHL. Now, a lot of 18-year-olds don't make it. You draft a player at 18 years old, they've got to be pretty freaking special to get on the ice on opening night. It doesn't happen all the time. And the Islanders stepped in you-know-what with this. They really, really did. I just didn't feel like cursing, Tony. I know you were waiting for that word to come out of my mouth. It's not that I didn't think it was appropriate. But they really did step in that stuff to get him. So 18 goals. So he's now the most goals by a rookie defenseman in NHL history. Think about 18. I'm sorry, most goals by an 18-year-old in NHL history. To go along with that, he passes Dennis Potvin for the most goals ever by an Islanders rookie defenseman. Then he had 17 when he was a rookie, 73-74 season. And Matthew Schaefer passes him last night. And you think, I mean, forget about Islanders history, where Dennis Potvin stands in the history of defensemen in the NHL. But keep it to the Islanders. I mean, you never thought there could be someone like Dennis Potvin again. And there'll never be another Dennis Potvin. But just from a number standpoint, how incredible what Matthew Schaefer is doing at 18 years old. I think Denny was 19 when he was started with the Islanders, his rookie season. And here's the thing about Matthew Schaefer. He's just a baby. He really is just a baby. He's 18 years old. He's got 18 goals. And I talked to him after practice the other day. He's such a good kid. And I say that because I call him a kid. I have an older son who's 20. Bradley is 20. Bradley can't believe, like, the Islanders have this great player and I'm 2 years older than him. It's 18. It's unbelievable. I know you want to live in the moment. We all want to, because the Islanders are having a terrific season. Nobody expected this to be in the middle of a playoff race. But to have an 18-year-old kid, it's simplistic to say it, and a lot of people have, so I don't feel I'm going overboard in saying it. But he has changed the fortunes of this franchise. Now, Matthew Darsh, the new GM, you've got great ownership, you got a beautiful building, you've got good players on the roster already, but this is incredible. He's 18 years old, and he has changed the fortunes of a franchise that didn't make the playoffs last year and basically ran it back with most of the same roster this year. Most of it. They traded Brock Nelson at the end of last year and got Cal Ritchie and draft picks back. And there was a little bit of tinkering, but for the most part, it's the same Islander team that didn't make the playoffs last year. And he's been unbelievable. And it was a no-brainer when, my wife and I asked my younger son, Jared, he wanted an Islander jersey for Hanukkah. And we delayed the purchase just to make sure he didn't change his mind. But he basically got an IOU at Hanukkah time. I want a Matthew Schaefer jersey. I said, all right, do we go ahead and take the plunge right now? Or do we kind of wait and see how the season unfolds? Oh, we wait a little bit. And he's so proud to wear that Matthew Schaefer jersey that we got him. But it's just, it's incredible. And the kid, again, by the way, I know I was ripping on Canada a little bit yesterday for the Olympics. You think maybe Canada should have had Matthew Schaefer on their Olympic team? Do you think he might have made a difference? Some people are saying that now. I don't think so. Canada, still had a really good team, and they were right there against the United States in overtime. But people are joking now. Maybe they should have put Matthew Schaefer on the team because he was a standby player in case they had to make a change. But I can tell you right now, this is the last Olympics that, as long as NHL players still go to the Olympics, this is the last one that will not have Matthew Schaefer on Team Canada while he's playing until the end of his career. Because Matthew Schaefer, 4 years from now, will be on Team Canada at the Olympics. There's no question about it. If there was an Olympics next year, he'd be on it. The World Cup of Hockey is happening in 2028. Matthew Schaefer will be on Team Canada in 2028 for the World Cup of Hockey. That's how good he is already. Think about other sports. First of all, in the NFL, you can't play in the NFL until you've played a junior year of college. So what, kids are 20, 21 years old, maybe 22 when they start in the NFL. Basketball's a little different. You got to play 1 year of NBA college basketball. So you come into the NBA at like 19, 20. Baseball, very, very rarely is there a teenager that comes up. Usually, you draft a player, at a high school at 18. He'll either go into your minor league system or he'll go to college and you get him at 22, 23. But 18 years old. How does this happen? It's mind-boggling. And I keep going back to this. I sound like a broken record, but he's just a baby. How much better is he going to be next year when he's 19? And then when he's 20? It's incredible. It's flipping incredible. It really is. So that was the one thing that came out. Here's the other thing, and I want to make sure we break on time because Kenny Albert's going to join us at 1:20. Anders Lee played in his 900th NHL game last night, obviously all with the Islanders. That's a huge milestone. Think about free agency in sports right now. How many players play 900 games with the same team? That doesn't happen. But here's the thing about Anders Lee, who's been a terrific captain ever since John Tavares decided he wanted to take his pajamas and go home to Toronto. He's been a terrific captain for the Islanders. He's so good in the community with his jam cancer in the can foundation. Tremendous guy. And he's been such a good player. He played in his 900th game last night. He's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. And when the season started, you could get the feeling, the sense that maybe, especially with the new GM and Matthew Darche, that maybe if the Islanders fall out of the playoffs early, that they'll look to trade him because they probably get something back. Maybe, Minnesota's having a good year. He can go home to Minnesota, or he can go to another Stanley Cup contender. He's not going anywhere now. The Islanders are in third place in the Metro, and they can get to second by the end of the weekend. So I don't think Anders Lee is going anywhere. And, you're starting to hear some rumors that maybe there's a 2-year extension in the works, possibly. That I put this out on Twitter this morning, and I'm gonna say it here on the show because that's how passionate I am about this. And it's so hard now in sports. It's so hard now in sports with free agency. I do not want to see this man put another NHL jersey on. Never again. I don't want to see it. Because he is an Islander through and through. He is a surefire Islanders Hall of Famer. I will even go to the extent of saying that his number 27 should join John Tonelli's number 27 in the rafters at UBS Arena. So I don't think Anders Lee's going to go anywhere. I hope he sticks around for 2 more years, and if he stays healthy, he will hit 1,000 games with the New York Islanders. We're going to take a really quick break here on the show. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Kenny Albert. But first, some words from the Embassy Diner, and then we're going to come back with Kenny Albert right after this. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sportsbash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz. Welcome back to the show. We'll get to your phone calls a little bit later on at 516-465-3990 with both the United States women and men, respectively, winning Olympic gold medal in Milan and calling all of the action on the networks of NBC. It was a very busy guy who has received a lot of great acclaim over the last week or so as the Olympics came to an end, calling both overtime wins for the United States in the men's game and also in the women's game. And we welcome back to the show a good friend of ours, Kenny Albert. Kenny, it's Peter. How are you?
I'm great, Peter. How are you?
I'm doing great. I guess the first thing to ask is, have you gotten much sleep in the last few weeks?
Last night, yes. Over the 3 weeks in Milan, averaged between 6 and 7 every night, probably. But they were late nights because most of the games were at 9:10 at night.
Right.
Sometimes I had a doubleheader, so we had a 4:40 and a 9:10 local time.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't get back to the hotel till about 12:30, 12:45. By the time you go to sleep, it's 2. And then I would try to sleep until 9 or 9:30 when I could, but it didn't always work that way. And then Monday was supposed to fly back to New York, but due to the snow, those flights were canceled. They managed to get us on a flight to Atlanta. Eddie Olczyk and I had a TNT game in Los Angeles on Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
The Golden Knights. So I was supposed to go home Monday and then fly to LA Tuesday. Wound up spending Monday night in Atlanta. Had only gotten two hours sleep the night before.
Oh, jeez.
Slept in Atlanta Monday night, flew to LA Tuesday, got a little bit of sleep, and then last night got home about 7 o'clock, was in bed by 10.
There you go. And you were fortunate because a couple of these Ranger games this week were on network TV, so you got a little bit of a break from the Rangers this week.
Right. Last night, Thursday night, if it were an MSG broadcast, I would have been there. I would have taken a red eye back from LA, but don't have to work Saturday either because it's an ABC game.
Yeah, that's awesome. You deserve the rest, and I'm sure. I know when you were on and talking about it on. I watched on TNT on Wednesday night when the studio guys were talking to you and Eddie about the performance you guys had at the Olympics, and I know you're humble, and it's probably something maybe I don't know if you're comfortable in getting all the attention and all the accolades, but it's been flowing in the whole Olympics. Even people who are not huge hockey fans, even my mother is like, boy, he does a really good job on those games. I mean, what was your reaction to all the acclaim that you were getting while you were in Milan and in the subsequent weeks since you've been back?
Well, first of all, please thank your mom for me. That's very nice of her. So I'll go back a little bit. This is my seventh Olympics. I've been so fortunate to be involved in the last 7 Winter Olympics. And even during the first week and a half this time, I'd get texts from friends and emails and some tweets here and there, but it was sort of business as usual. We were doing the games, and women's game started on February 5th. The men's game started on February 11th. And obviously there were a lot of eyeballs on the U.S. games, but the last 5 days of the tournament, between the Quinn Hughes overtime goal last Wednesday to beat Sweden in the quarters, the women's gold medal game on Thursday, and then the men's gold medal game on Sunday, because those 3 games went to overtime, and you'll get this, as a fellow broadcaster, there's a final call. It's an abrupt ending. It's an overtime winner. If those games ended 5-1, yes, people would still, I'm sure, be kind enough to say great broadcast or really enjoy the broadcast, but there wouldn't be nearly the reaction as there was due to the overtime calls, the overtime winners. So I think that's a big part of it. I got a lot of text Wednesday after the Hughes overtime goal, then even more after the women's game.
Yeah.
Then Sunday after the men's game, I tried not to look at my phone during the game because I didn't want to be distracted, first of all. And there were so many texts coming in, I would see the number. And then we went back to the hotel. We went right to dinner. We had a little bit of a celebration after that. So and then I had to pack. I hadn't packed yet from 3 weeks in Milan. So that took a while. And then I had to be up. I went to sleep at 4 a.m. and had to be up at 6 to go to the airport. So I felt bad that I couldn't answer everybody. And then
well, that's why I waited until Wednesday to reach out to you, because I saw somewhere on Twitter that you had gotten over 400 messages, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait till Wednesday, and I'll ask.
And I responded to you a lot quicker than some of the other ones from Sunday and Monday. So on the 10-hour plane ride Monday, I probably spent the first 3 to 4 hours just answering texts because I felt bad. I wanted to get back to everybody, and it was so overwhelming between the texts, the articles, the tweets. I've never really gone through anything like that, but a lot of it had to do with the fact that there were overtime games and final abrupt calls as opposed to wrapping up, a 7-1 win.
Do you, Kenny, and I think of this sometimes because I've done, a little bit of play-by-play, not nearly as much as you have, and people have asked me also, like, when a game is tied in the third period or even in a football game, if a game is close in the fourth quarter and overtime, does it ever seep into your mind as a play-by-play guy how the call may go? Or do you not allow that to not allow yourself to think about it because you want everything to be organic the way you're going to call the game when it ends?
Well, as you know, when it goes to overtime, the goal can be scored in 100 different ways.
Yeah.
The actual goal call, no. You can't really plan that. In a 5-on-5 situation, during the NHL season, there are so many goals scored where the play-by-play announcers might not know who scored the goal.
Yeah.
There are 3 players tied up in front of the net, and it deflects off somebody. You don't know if it's the forward, the defenseman, the stick, the skate. So a lot of times there are little tricks that I'll use, and so many others do this as well. I'll yell score. Maybe I'll give the score. I'll pause, and I'll see who comes out of that celebration line first to go to the bench, because you don't always know. The great thing about 3-on-3 is you don't have many goals like that.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be on a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1. So that helped a little bit. I did think a little on Saturday about like the next line after the goal scored, if it's the U.S. When I've done some Stanley Cup finals in the past, I don't like to write it out or script out a final call, but I'll think of a couple of key words or a phrase. I used lightning strikes twice when the Tampa Bay Lightning won their second straight.
Right.
Silver trophy to the Golden Knights when Vegas won in 23. Panther perfection in 25. So maybe a line, a phrase. And when I was thinking about it Saturday, if the U.S. won the game following the goal call, I wanted to say something about the 80 team because it was the first win since then, 46 years. So initially I called the goal, which again, you can't script.
Right.
So the first line was Jack Hughes wins it. Then I paused and said something to the effect of the golden goal for the United States. But then the third part of it was somewhat thought about previously, and that was for the first time since the 1980 miracle, the United States takes the gold. So I did think about that third part of it a little bit.
It was such a good game on Sunday morning, and I want to make sure I mention we're going to talk about the women too. I don't want to be accused of skipping over the women because they were equally as great in winning. We'll get to it in a second. But as far as Sunday goes, the game was so good. Connor Hellebuck was unbelievable, keeping the USA in the game. Canada dominated, and they are right to say, the people in Canada, that they dominated most of the game. But there was such theater throughout the entire 60 minutes into overtime. And you've done a million games in your life. I mean, you're sitting there calling this unbelievable game, two arch rival countries playing for the gold medal. What's going through your mind as this game is unfolding? Because obviously there had to be a point in the game where you're thinking that overtime could be a real possibility.
It was a tremendous game. The intensity in the building, you could feel it. But remember, late in the third period, we had all those power plays. So at that point, I wasn't really thinking about overtime because I thought somebody might score on the power play. The U.S. had the double minor called on Bennett when he high stick Jack Hughes. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, well, there's a good chance the U.S. scores here. But then I thought Canada might score when they went on the power play when Jack took the penalty. So for a lot of the last 10 minutes, I wasn't necessarily thinking about overtime because of the power plays. But then as time is winding down in that final minute, obviously that's the case. And I remember thinking to myself in between the third and overtime, I took a little walk back on the concourse behind where our booth was. And I thought, this is unbelievable. Next goal wins. And the gold medal is on the line. So, but as far as calling it, I didn't do much different than any other game that I'm calling as far as the mechanics, the prep, but the stakes are a lot higher.
No question about it. We're talking to Kenny Albert, the United States men's and women's Olympic hockey teams coming home from Milan with gold, and Kenny called all the action, all those overtimes on NBC. I think lost in the shuffle here, and I think for a couple of reasons. Number one, because the team was so likable, the American men's team, and also how unfortunate of a down year the Rangers are having. But I think a lot gets lost in the job that Mike Sullivan did as head coach in keeping this team together. Obviously, the staff of USA Hockey putting the team together, but the job that Mike Sullivan did from before the tournament, through the tournament, into the medal round, and you're around Mike all the time as the voice of the Rangers. Is Mike Sullivan getting enough flowers for the job he did as head coach?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, from Bill Guerin, the general manager, on down, they deserve a lot of credit. And, the one thing, and you could look at any roster that's chosen, and people are going to say that there were 3 or 4 other players that deserved it over certain guys or women. And, JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck were 2 of the ones that people talked about. There was a group of folks, hockey fans, media, that felt like guys like Cole Caulfield or Alex DeBrincat or Jason Robertson, who are having bigger years offensively, should have been on the team. But Bill Guerin, Mike Sullivan, they stuck to their guns. They said, we don't just want an all-star team of goal scorers. We need role players. We need penalty killers. We need face-off men. And JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck were huge. They were out there first for every penalty kill. They were out for a lot of the face-offs, especially Trocheck. So that was a great move, as it turns out, by the coaching staff, by management, by not just having an all-star crew, but having role players that could play on the third and fourth line and do the little things.
It was a tremendous job, top to bottom for the USA men's team. Let's switch over to the women. And obviously when the women's tournament started, everybody obviously was eyeballing United States and Canada in the final. And the United States team, Kenny, I've never seen, maybe you have to go back to the Soviet Union men's teams when they were on top of the hockey world to find dominating performances like the United States women had throughout the tournament. They were just on fire until they got to the gold medal game and had to battle back for a 2-1 win over Canada in overtime. And you got to see all of those women's games. I mean, that arguably might be the best American women's team, maybe the best Olympic women's team, period, regardless of country, that we've ever seen, the way that they dominated those games.
Yeah, domination is the key word. Leading up to the gold medal game, they outscored their opponents 31-1. They had 5 straight shutouts. I've been involved in the last 7 Winter Olympics, so I've seen most of the games that the U.S. has played and most of the games that Canada has played. And Canada's won the gold 5 times, and now the U.S. has won 3 times. It's narrowed. The gap is narrowed between some of those other countries, but it was still heavily favored that we would see the United States and Canada. It would have been a major, major upset if another country snuck into that gold medal game. Although Switzerland in the semifinal lost to Canada 2-1, but they were outshot, by about 40 shots. So the score wasn't really indicative. But the United States did an incredible job. The head coach, John Robleski, who used to coach on the men's side in the under-18 program, and he coached a lot of the players on the men's Olympic team. But, from Captain Hillary Knight on down, Kendall Coyne-Schofield scored some big goals. Megan Keller with the overtime winner to win the gold. It was just so much fun to watch, so much fun to call those games. And you have to give credit to Canada. They played their best game in the gold medal game. They had a 1-0 lead until just over 2 minutes left when Hillary Knight tied it. So they certainly gave the United States a scare. The U.S. had won the previous game 5-0. One of Canada's best players, Marie-Philippe Poulin, did not play in that first game. And she has 7 goals in gold medal games, 3 winners. But the U.S. held her in check on Thursday last week.
As you know, Kenny, women's sports has just skyrocketed in recent years, whether it's the WNBA, college basketball, and now women's hockey is really starting to take off. The PWHL is doing great in a lot of markets. In fact, the New York Sirens are going to play a game at the Garden April 4th, and I think that game is already sold out. And I think this Olympic victory by the United States is only going to create inspiration for so many other young girls who are coming up playing hockey. What was the reaction like to you from the hockey world, especially the females, on the American road to the gold medal, and how that could jumpstart or maybe even accelerate the growth of women's hockey in the country?
Yeah, it was tremendous. People really enjoyed watching the games. They were so much fun to call. You mentioned the PWHL. All 23 players on Canada play in the PWHL. 16 of the 23 on the U.S. side, and that's only because 7 of them are still in college. So they will all be in the PWHL in the future as well. But it's a lot of fun. I've had the honor of calling 4 women's gold medal games, 2002, and then again in Pyeongchang when the U.S. beat Canada in a shootout in 2018, 2022, and now 26. So it's certainly among the highlights of my professional career, and can't speak highly enough of the job that the U.S. women have done.
And Kenny, we'll wrap it up in just a couple minutes. I know you have another interview to get to, but back to the men and the NHL players now coming back to resume the season, and there's so much excitement about the international aspect of this, whether it's USA, Canada, the other countries. So coming up next for the NHL players is the NHL All-Star Game at UBS Arena next year. We wonder what that format will look like with all the excitement about the international flavor. You wonder if that game will take on an international theme. And then the World Cup of Hockey is coming up in 2028. For you now as a broadcaster, you look ahead to these 2 tentpole events that are coming up in the next couple of years. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think the format of these 2 events will look like? The All-Star Game next year and then the World Cup of Hockey.
Well, the players were so excited to take part in the Olympics. It had been 12 years since Sochi for the NHL players. We saw the 4 nations last year and what an effect that had, going to overtime, Canada and the U.S. in the final game in Boston, and now the Olympics. So moving forward, hopefully that momentum continues. I don't think I'll be involved personally in the All-Star Game. Pretty sure it'll be on ESPN, right. But should be an exciting weekend for Long Island and hockey fans around the metropolitan area. And then, the players will be raring to go for the World Cup. Not sure exactly how many teams it will be. It was 4 in the 4 nations, obviously, but it might be more. It will be more, it sounds like, in the World Cup. And then another Olympics in 4 years. So let's keep it going.
And really quick, I lied to you. Glenn from Flushing, a big listener, messaged into us once to ask you how far you think the Islanders could go. Their surprise season with Matthew Schaefer doing so well. How far do you think the Islanders could go this year?
Yeah, they've had a great year. Schaefer's been an unbelievable story. I've only had the opportunity to see him play in person twice, but look forward to working a lot more Islander games in the future, potentially in the playoffs for TNT. It's pretty wide open, right? When you look at the East. So a lot of it's going to depend on matchups and goaltending and health and who you play. So we'll see how it all plays out, but look forward to watching the Islanders should they make the playoffs. And Matthew Schaefer has certainly been one of the huge bright spots in the NHL this season.
Kenny, I cannot thank you enough. I am honored. You're a friend a long time, but I'm still honored that you actually returned the text the other day with all the attention you've gotten, that you agreed to come on the show. So I can't thank you enough.
Anytime, Peter. Appreciate you having me, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Kenny Albert, the voice of the Rangers on MSG, but in recent weeks, he got all kinds of notoriety for the job he did, Olympic hockey on NBC, calling the men and the women United States team winning the gold medal in Milan. So great job by everybody associated with USA Hockey, and obviously Kenny and Eddie Olchuk and the whole crew at NBC calling all the action for everybody here back home. When we come back here on the show, actually before we take a break here on the show, because we have to make sure we get all the elements in here on the program, and we're very happy to have Kenny on, but I want to go backwards a little bit. What did I miss? I missed the poll question of the day, correct? All right, before we get to Dave Shepard after the break. It's time for the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day. It's presented by the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Every customer is considered family at the Embassy Diner. Mention Sports Bash and get a free dessert with your meal. We post a new question every Tuesday and Thursday, in this case Friday, because of the snow earlier in the week, on the Sports Bash Media X/Twitter page. And here was something I talked about in the open. What should the Islanders do with Captain Anders Lee? And we have three choices. Re-sign him to a 2-year deal, trade him before the deadline, or let him walk as a free agent. I will give the floor first to my outstanding producer, Tony Walker, and the host of the Knock 'em Dead comedy show, weekdays from 11 to 12:30 here at Governors. Tony, Anders Lee, re-sign him, trade him, let him walk.
Extension.
We're in agreement. It's not very often that me and Tony are in agreement on everything, but yes, re-sign him, I think, to a 2-year deal. It's time for What's Hot at TicketBash.com. Get the best seats at the best prices with no service fees at TicketBash.com. On Saturday afternoon, the Rangers host the Penguins. The Red Bulls play their home opener Saturday afternoon against New England. Saturday night, St. John's hosts Villanova. Sunday afternoon, the Knicks host the Spurs. And Sunday night, the Islanders host the Panthers. Coming up next, after a very, very brief timeout, and a word from the Marty Lyons Foundation, we will talk hoops with Dave Shepard from SiriusXM NBA Radio. But first, these words from the Marty Lyons Foundation.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,600 families, raising over $44 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $7,100 each. And your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 84 cents of every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Marty Lyons Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams, giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyLyonsFoundation.org to learn more and get involved.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz. Welcome back to the special Friday edition of Sports Bash. Again, many thanks to Kenny Albert, who joined us in the last segment to talk about the USA men's and women's Olympic hockey teams who won gold medal in Milan. Really quick, before I get to Dave Shepard from SiriusXM NBA Radio, I just saw this on Twitter. I must have missed it an hour or so ago because I wasn't looking at my phone. But the Mets just announced earlier today that Freddie Peralta will be the 32nd different opening day starting pitcher in the Mets' 65-year history. Tony Walker, our resident Met fan, can you name all 32 starting pitchers?
Of course not.
How about, let's see how fast you can name 5 of them.
Seaver, Santana, Gooden, Peralta,
Yeah. He hasn't done it yet.
and DeGrom.
DeGrom. Okay, fine. I put you on the spot there. I'm
I
sorry,
win.
my friend. I'm sorry. We are now going to talk a little hoops here on Sports Bash, and this guy is a dear, dear friend of mine and a return visitor to Sports Bash. We worked many nights together at originally when I was at SiriusXM the first time, and he worked with Pharrell. But we also spent many days together and nights working at CBS Sports Radio, and then it became Infinity Sports Network. And now I don't know when I'll ever see him in person again because the network is no more. But now he has landed very nicely as a host on SiriusXM NBA Radio. My good friend, the Good Shepherd, Dave Shepard. Dave, my friend, it's Peter. How are you, sir?
Schwartz, how you doing, man? Great to see you. I didn't know the network was gone. I didn't know it dissolved, so that's news to me. That's too bad. How you doing, man? It's
Wait a
good to
minute.
see
You were there with me the night that it ended.
Well, it's
What's
one of those
wrong with
things-
you?
It's one of those things where, like, it's trauma for me. So I'm not even aware of actually what happened because you know how much the network meant to me, and you know how much I know how much it meant to you, man. We were there for
Well,
30
yes, it did,
years.
because we were both there from the start. So you were a
Yep.
producer on Scott Farrell's show.
I was.
You were there the night that the network started as CBS Sports Radio, January 2nd, 2013. We were both
Yeah.
there. I did the first update. Farrell did the first show. And even though it was disappointing that the network came to an end because I really miss working with everybody,
Same.
well, mostly everybody. But you know who I'm talking about. But I was so happy that that Odyssey brought back Scott for that last show. You got to host it with him, and I got to be in there with you guys for that last show. So even though it was sad to see the network go, I was really happy that they had the 3 of us in there involved in that last show.
You know, Pete, I am too. You were more than just an anchor. You were a big personality for so many shows.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
talking about your family and everything you do in play-by-play and how committed you are to the Islanders and the Jets, and you became a character on the Infinity Sports Network. And I love my time at SiriusXM NBA Radio, and this is not a politically correct answer. I mean, I'm very fortunate and
Yes.
blessed to be on the airwaves there. But I would be lying to you if I told you that I did not miss the Infinity Sports Network and the fans, because there's a very special, intimate bond that you have as a radio host with the fans that you broadcast to, and so they're the absolute best, and I wish them well, and I wish Westwood won well, and on to bigger and better things, and talking NBA, and that was pretty impressive by Tony, by the way, being put on the spot, and I got to tell you, those 5 names I know, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't know Peralta was a Met. I thought he was still a Brewer.
But this is what happens when you Shep live under the rock that is the NBA. You don't spend any time with the other sports. I don't know how you missed it, but it's okay. By the way, really quick story before we get into the Knicks and everything else.
Sure.
And I think I've shared this story on the phone. I don't know if Tony on other shows. I don't know if Tony, my producer, has ever heard this show. The first time we ever met was I was doing updates at Sirius, and you were working on Scott's show. On Scott Farrell's show, and the sports newsroom was in this hallway, and also in that hallway was like the little snack room, the break room, where the refrigerator was, where people would bring their dinner and put it in. But also, one of the great things about working at Sirius back in the day was they had this refrigerator filled with soda that they provided their employees for free. and they had those big vats of the pretzel sticks. Remember that, Shep?
Always.
Do they still
Yes.
have it now that you're back there? Did they bring the pretzels and the soda back?
They don't have pretzels. They have Farmer Fridge. And Farmer Fridge, you now have to pay for food at
Oh,
Sirius
God.
XM. They're not giving out free food
Back in the
anymore.
day, so
Yeah.
that refrigerator was stocked with soda, and then they had these big vats of these tall pretzels, and so I had a few of them. But we met in that break room the first time. I didn't know who you were. Don't be offended, but you knew who I was. And something was going on with the NBA that night, and you said, "Hey, you excited about that?" And I said, "Nah, I really don't follow it." And I thought maybe you lost your dog. That was the look on your face when I said I wasn't the biggest NBA fan in the world. You with your help, you've gotten me into a bigger NBA fan. But I can never forget the look on your face when I said to you that, "Nah, I'm really not following it."
When you're 23 years old, you think everybody has to like what you like. And if they differ and find themselves liking something different or have an affinity for something else elsewhere, you lose your marbles. And part of growing up and maturing is you realize that people have different rooting interests and people follow different sports, and not everyone's going to be an NBA fan. My job and my objective in my current role is to make sure that I am talking about what makes this sport the greatest sport in the world. Not to minimize hockey or baseball or football, because those obviously have very loyal fan bases. We know hockey has certainly been the talk of sports the last 2 weeks for a myriad of reasons, not just pertaining to the ice. But, basketball, Pete, you got to do it on both sides of the floor. Hockey, you got 3 different shifts. We can get into the yin and the yang of NBA versus NHL. But I do know the NHL is in a great place, too. But Crosby, you never thought I'd be bringing this up.
Oh, my God. How do we get on hockey now all of a sudden?
Crosby's out for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It was what I read.
And hopefully the Islanders can take advantage and pass the Penguins in the Metro Division standings.
Pete,
but I did not have you on the show to talk about hockey. I just had Kenny Albert on to talk about hockey for 20 minutes.
Oh, he's pretty good. No, he's more qualified than I am.
Yeah.
85 or 86 was their last Stanley Cup title, right?
You close, 83.
83. Okay, and that was
83.
the 4-Pete.
That was the 4-Pete. They got to the finals in 84 and lost to Edmonton.
Okay.
Can we get the basketball?
Let's do it, man.
Let's get. So Dave Shepard from Sirius XM NBA Radio is joining me here on the program. Let's start with the Knicks, obviously. And as we get closer to the playoffs, people are really starting to wonder, including myself, just exactly what is this Knicks team as they head towards the playoffs? Because there's nights, Shep, as you know, where the Knicks look like they can beat anybody on the planet. And then there's nights where they look like they can't beat anybody, and they get blown out by the Pistons one night and play well against another team another night. When you look at this Knicks team right now, if they're healthy, 100% on cylinder, all cylinders running, how good is this Knicks team and how far can they go?
Well, they can't beat Detroit when Detroit doesn't have Jalen Duren, who's their second best player, and Isaiah Stewart, who's their 6th man. And they couldn't beat them at MSG and lose by 15 points. When they played the Pistons in Detroit, they lost by a damn near average of 30. So that matchup ain't going to work. We saw how close the Pistons were to the Knicks in last year's postseason. When the Knicks did win in 6, remember, when they went to Detroit, the Knicks were winning by an average of 2 points per game. That's how close it was last year. Mm-hmm. The Detroit Pistons have taken a step forward, while the Knicks, if anything, have regressed. So they're not better than Detroit, even on their best day. They're not going to be better than Cleveland. If Evan Mobley is healthy and Jared Allen is healthy, you got James Harden, who doesn't have to be the guy anymore. Donovan Mitchell, God bless Jalen Brunson. I would still take Donovan Mitchell over Jalen Brunson if both guys are playing at their apex. And then you look at the Celtics. If they are able to bring Jason Tatum back, they're better than the Knicks. Jaylen Brown, who's clearly the Celtics' second best player of the last 8-9 years, he's in the MVP conversation. As much as I respect Jalen Brunson and as great as he is as a scorer and facilitator, and though the Knicks hide him on defense, that's a different discussion for a different day. Jaylen Brown, who's the Celtics' second best player, is better than Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
Peyton Pritchard is better than anybody the Knicks have coming off the bench, including McBride, including Alvarado. So the Knicks are not going to be as good as they were last year, when they were an Aaron Nesmith, Reggie Miller-esque performance in the fourth quarter away from going to the NBA Finals.
Can the Knicks get back to the conference final if all things go well?
Is Mike Brown still their coach conference finals time?
Well, yeah, they're not making a change now.
Okay, then no.
Okay,
Because Pete,
fair enough.
2007 was the only exception to this, and that's because LeBron James scored 25 straight points against the Pistons in that epic Game 5 playoff in the Eastern Conference Finals. He underachieved in LA. He underachieved in Sacramento. Not in the regular season, but when he got to the postseason, they should have beat the Warriors in that series. They had him in 7 at their place, and they lose significantly. Mike Brown has underachieved everywhere he has gone in the postseason, minus 2007.
Gotcha.
The Knicks, they made the wrong move. Tom Thibodeau gets them to a place they've never been in 25 years. And again, they were this close to getting to the NBA Finals. And for some reason, James Dolan and company thought it was the right move to now switch coaches the second you have an inkling of success mirroring 99, 94, and especially 73 and 70.
Yeah, I was extremely surprised when they made that coaching move. We have a couple of minutes left with Dave Shepard from SiriusXM NBA Radio. Let's go around the rest of the NBA because we've talked a lot about the East, but let's go to the Western Conference and how you see the rest of the season playing out there. And I also want to ask you about LeBron's future. What do you think? So let's start with the NBA in the West. The rest of the season, how do you see that unfolding?
Yeah, so the Thunder are still the team to beat. They're still the first seed in the West, and that's without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander dealing with the abdominal strain for the last few weeks. And, Jalen Williams, not to be confused with the other Jalen Williams on the team with the Y. J-Dub, as many people call him, he's been out for a significant amount of time, and the Thunder are still hanging tough. They're still the reigning champs. Ric Flair always said, to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Woo!
Thunder is still clearly the man. Woo! Thunder is still clearly the man. Love that reference. By the way, we can talk wrestling if you want, Peter Schwartz. And speaking of wrestling,
we'll have to do it another time.
We'll have to do another time.
Yeah.
But the Thunder are still the team to beat. Obviously, the Spurs are 4-1 against them in the regular season. There's no answer for Victor Wembanyama, and it's not just about Wemby. It's about the depth they have on that team. They're unbelievable off the bench. You have Keldon Johnson. You have Harrison Barnes. When you talk about the starters, you have De'Aaron Fox, who's an all-star. Stephon Castle's going to be an all-star very soon. And then you talk about Julian Champagny, and you talk about, obviously, an individual in Devin Vassell. The Spurs are the second team. And then if the Nuggets are healthy, this Nuggets team is even better than that Nuggets title team in 2023. So the West is deep, but it's still, to me, in this particular order, Thunder, Spurs, Nuggets, and thank God after April, we're not going to have to talk about the Lakers. Because the only reason we talk about them is because of LeBron and why they're losing post-game.
And that brings me, Shep, to my last question that I have for you. There's been so much discussion about LeBron's future. Do you think he plays next year? And if he does come back and play, who does he play with?
Yes, he plays next year because when he was in Boston this year with LA, he didn't play. And knowing all the history that LeBron has had in Boston, there's no way he doesn't play there one more time. So that to me is, forget even the attention he wants in the quote-unquote retirement tour. Not playing in Boston in his final year would make no sense to me. He's an historian. He's a great student of the game, and that signals to me he's playing next year. My hunch, from everything I'm hearing, everything I'm reading, Cleveland makes a lot of sense on so many levels. Bronny grew up there. LeBron has a lot of respect for the beard. James Harden's got a lot of respect for Donovan Mitchell. Kenny Atkinson is a player's coach, so that's going to bode well. And I will say, I know a lot of people are critical about LeBron James. It's more about Rob Pelinka and what he's put around LeBron. There's no defensive stalwarts. Marcus Smart, if they got him 10 years ago, this would make sense, but they didn't. And so LeBron will be playing in year 24, and I believe that will be in Cleveland. And I will say, Pete, I catch your show. You're doing a great job, man.
Thank you.
I'm as a friend, I'm proud of what you're doing.
The check is in the mail, Chef.
Governor's Radio. No, but there's no check. There's no check. I'm proud of what you're doing, man. You're very talented, and it's good to see you.
Well, all of a sudden at the end of December, I had a lot of time on my hands, so I had to do something with it, right?
Me too.
Yeah. We all did. Shep, my friend, that was awesome. I know when I need NBA stuff, I need to go to you. You were always a lifeline for me with the NBA, and I'm so happy we spent way too much time talking about our old job because I got to run because if I go overtime, Tony puts the meter on, and so we'll definitely do this again when the playoffs roll around. But thanks so much for spending a few minutes with me.
My pleasure, Pete. Thank you for having me, Pete, and thank you for having me, Tony. You guys have a great rest of your week and show.
Thanks, Chef. Dave Shepard from SiriusXM NBA Radio. We got a lot to do in a very short amount of time. It's time for the Coach's Collectibles item of the week. This Connor Hellebuck Save of the Century framed autograph photo. The next Coach's Collectibles live event, Chaz Palminteri, Wednesday, March 25th at Fox Hollow Country Club in Woodbury. Photo ops at 6:30, an autograph session from 7:30 to 8 p.m. Coach's Collectibles, your number one source for 100% authentic sports memorabilia and live public autograph events. Check them out online at www.coachescollectiblesny.com and use code SPORTSBASH for free shipping on all orders. Last night, as you all know, I'm the communications coordinator for American Soccer Club New York. And last night we had a wonderful event with players, the coaches, sponsors, ownership, staff, invited guests at the View in Oakdale. And everybody got a nice swag bag. So here is my scarf. This is the hat that doesn't fit me. So I'm going to have to figure out what to do. Kick ALS was there. They're one of our charitable partners. You had put the red card up for Kick ALS to get rid of ALS, and they gave me their scarf there last night. And what did I do? I had a bracelet for Tony. Did it fall? It fell on the floor. Excuse me one second. Here you go, Tony. This is an American Soccer Club bracelet that everybody got last night. I'm going to take this hat off because I need to fix it. And but I'm going to take just the one scarf off here, but Kick ALS, show ALS the red card. Where is their? You can follow them on Twitter at redcardals. I don't see the website on here, but there is a QR code, which you can probably find that online. But it's a great charity, Kick ALS. But a great night with American Soccer Club New York. Great people, great food, great drinks. And great to be there last night. Let's tell you about some upcoming shows here on Sports Bash. Next week, we got a couple of really good shows. Next, on Tuesday, March 3rd, I'll be joined by longtime baseball writer Ken Davidoff. He has a new book out called 101 Lessons from the Dugout. Also on Tuesday, we'll talk a little wrestling here on the program. I'll be joined by professional wrestler Mercedes Martinez. She is headlining a big card coming here to Long Island, Mercedes Rules. It's on March 7th at the Farmingville Fire Department. Next Thursday, March 5th, we are expected to be joined by Red Bulls head coach Michael Bradley. The Red Bulls off to a 1-0 start after their win in Orlando last weekend. So congratulations to the Red Bulls on that strong start. Then on Tuesday, March 10th, Shannon Hogan, the Islanders host and reporter on MSG Network. She will join us on Tuesday, March 10th to talk a little Islanders hockey and also a really cool event that's going on in the community that she's involved with through the Islanders. We're going to talk about that with Shannon on March 10th. And here, I can't divulge who it's going to be yet because we're still dotting the I's and crossing the T's on this. But we believe that we have our next FOP in place. I piqued Tony's interest there. So we believe we have the next FOP in place. I can't say who it is yet because this individual has to get everything cleared. Again, I can't say. Did I spill the beans and say he?
Yes.
I did. It was. It is a he. Okay. It's not a she. It's a he. So he has to clear the deck, so to speak, and make sure I get all our ducks in a row. Make sure we believe he'll be okay for that day. So we hope on Monday we get the go-ahead. We'll be able to announce it, and we'll talk more about it on the show on Tuesday. But this would be on Thursday, March 12th, and I would be really excited if this is able to happen. I'm 99.9% sure we've got this locked down like we usually do. And that's it for this special Friday edition of Sports Bash presented by TicketBash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. Thanks to my guests, Kenny Albert and David Shepard. Thanks to our social media coordinator, Leanne Burgess. And thanks to Tony Walker and everyone at Governors. Sports Bash is sponsored by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, by Coach's Collectibles, and by the Marty Lyons Foundation. For our entire crew, I'm Peter Schwartz. Thanks for watching and listening, and we are back on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. I think we're getting some more snow. I'm getting sick of this, but have a great weekend, everyone.